Can we know the seasons? Absolutely. But the ironic thing about that and saying yes, we can know the season is that I'm saying yes to something that is completely outside the scope of why that question or why that statement would have been offered in the first place. See, we have this idea that we're not going to know the timing specifically of the rapture, but we can know the season. Meaning, I believe that we can approximate when it's going to happen. But the thing is that the word season is the Greek word kairos, and it relates specifically to the appointed time of the second coming. We learn this from multiple places in Scripture. It's first spoken about, not in that word, not in that those words exactly, but it's spoken of in Matthew 24. When the disciples came to Jesus privately on the Mount of Olives, asking him, Master, what shall be the signs of thy coming and of the end of the world? He speaks of that again in Acts just before he ascends. When they say, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Well, the restoration of the kingdom to Israel comes at the end of the 70th week. So he says, no, and when I do it, you're not going to be alive. You're not going to be presently alive physically on this earth to see it. Why? Well, because they would have been removed from the earth in the rapture, coming back with him, not on earth to be there when he brings it from heaven to earth. So he says, of those times, you have no need to know the times and the seasons, signs of thy coming in the end of the world, the times and seasons which the Father has put in his own power. Or it's not for you. He doesn't say you have no need to know. He says it is not for you to know. The Greek word there, know, is to experience firsthand. And that's what I just explained is even if it had been in their lifetimes, they still would have been removed in the rapture to come back with him 7 years later, not to be on earth to experience the restoration of the kingdom to Israel. That would be for the unbelieving remnant. So Matthew 24 begins the conversation, them asking specifically for signs of his coming in the end of the world. And then he goes into 70th week specific information, beginning with the seal judgments, then the midpoint of the week, and then the end of the week, including his second coming. So in Acts, when they ask him again, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? He says, no, it's not for you to know or experience firsthand the times, 70th week, and seasons, second coming, that the Father hath put in his own power. Now you fast forward to 1 Thessalonians 5, the saved church at Thessalonica, who we just talked about the resurrection and rapture to, the same event that would have removed the 12 in order to come back with him and not be on earth to experience that event from an earthly perspective, but rather from a being with Christ perspective, coming from heaven perspective. He tells the church at Thessalonica the same things of the times, 70th week, and seasons, second coming from an earthly perspective, you have no need that I write unto you, because it doesn't pertain to them. So when people say we can know the season, we absolutely can, because we can know when the 70th week is when the 70th week begins from the Old Testament. Day and year specific, month, day, year specific. We can absolutely discern that information. It's given. You have to do a little legwork to get it, but it is in the Old Testament prophecy. It's not being hidden from anyone. So clearly, if you can know the start of the week, then you can know the season, the second coming, the appointed time that ends that 2,520 days later. So you can know the season, absolutely. But the season has absolutely nothing to do with the rapture, which is the context that people are using that statement in. Thinking that we can't know the day or the hour, but we can know the season. Not knowing the day or the hour is not on a calendar or a cognitive understanding of when he's coming back, that they can't know that, like it's being hidden. To not know is to not understand from a visual perspective, from a sensory, physical, visual, specifically, perception of what that day is going to look like, because there's no reference point. He says, not man, not angels. That means mortal and immortal. Oh, and not the Son in his humanity, because that was pre-cross, pre-resurrection when he stated that. Only God in his foreknowledge. Christ, now having been glorified, has full knowledge, so he's going to know exactly what that means. But at the time when that was spoken, it had to do with no visual reference point for events which had never happened. The events of the second half of the 70th week are unparalleled in hardship. The events of the actual day of the second coming have never happened at all ever. The earth has never been destroyed with fire before. So no one knows what that's going to look like except for God and his foreknowledge and now the glorified Christ. That's what that's talking about. So to say we can't know the day or the hour, that means from a visual or sensory perception, not being able to understand the severity of that day from a judgment, earth burning, works being burned up perspective. Check out 2 Peter 3 to correlate to that. It has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing on a calendar. There is a vile judgment that is specifically designed to gather people into the valley of Megiddo, to Armageddon, to do battle against Christ. There's a day count that Daniel associates to that time period. There is nothing about that is being hidden. Everything about that period of time is overt, including the start of it, including the ending of it, and all of the events that are going to happen in between. You can know the season because you can know the start of the 70th week, which occurs 7 years before the season, the day of the second coming. It is contextually inaccurate to use that in regards to the knowing the season of the rapture, because that has got nothing to do with what the word season actually refers to. So when people say we can know the season of the rapture, well, yeah, because you can know the timing of the start of the 70th week. You can know the timing of the ending of the 70th week, and you know that the rapture is going to remove us directly before the 70th week starts. So it's not even that you need to know the season. If you know the day, the month, and the year when the 70th week starts, that's pretty precise.